The galactic survey vessel Zenith drifted silently through the vastness of space. Inside its control chamber, Captain Velric stood with his arms crossed, his four eyes fixed on the glowing data screen. The room hummed with the soft buzz of computers processing incoming planetary scans. It was supposed to be another routine survey, a simple cataloging of lifeless rocks and low-risk habitable worlds. But today, something was different. A sharp metallic voice broke the silence. "Captain, we have an anomaly." Velric turned his gaze toward his chief analyst, Dravlek, who was hunched over the scanning console, his clawed fingers flying over the holographic keyboard. The scientist's normally pale green scales had darkened, a clear sign of unease among his species. "What kind of anomaly?" Velric asked, stepping closer. Dravlek hesitated before speaking. "A planet in the Sol system. It should be a Class 5 world at most. But the readings err." He paused, recalibrating the sensors. The atmospheric data, the radiation levels, the geological activity. Everything suggests a much higher classification. Velric frowned. "How high?" Dravlek swallowed, his throat making an odd clicking noise. "Class 14. A stunned silence fell over the room. The Galactic Council's classification system ranked planets based on their level of hostility to life. Class 1 worlds were peaceful and ideal for colonization. Class 5 planets had occasional natural dangers, like storms or mild predators. But Class 14, that was unheard of. The highest known Death World classification was Class 12, belonging to the infamous planet Pharxus Prime, where even the vegetation could kill within seconds. Velric leaned in. "That can't be right. No known Class 14 planet supports intelligent life." Dravlek zoomed in on the data, his voice growing more uncertain. "And yet, it does." The captain's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Dravlek pointed at the pulsating numbers on the screen. "The planet is teeming with sentient life, not just surviving, but thriving. The dominant species has built entire cities, developed space travel, and even sent signals beyond their own atmosphere." Velric felt his stomach twist. A species evolving on a death world at that level. It defied all logic. He tapped his communicator. "Prepare for a long-range scan. I want a full analysis of this planet immediately." The ship's AI, a cold and efficient machine, responded at once. Initiating deep planetary scan. Estimated time: 2 minutes. The crew waited in tense silence as data flooded in. The screen flickered with readings. Unstable climate with frequent natural disasters. High gravity compared to galactic standard. Extreme biological adaptability in dominant species. History of continuous conflict and war. Weapons technology advancing at an unnatural pace. Velric clenched his jaw. "What do we know about these inhabitants?" Dravlek's claws trembled slightly as he read the details. "They call themselves humans." A chill ran through the control room. Even those who had never heard the name could feel the weight behind it. A species capable of surviving in a Class 14 death world. No, thriving in one was not to be taken lightly. Velric exhaled slowly. "Do they have interstellar travel?" Dravlek shook his head. "Not yet. They've only reached their closest moon and sent a few probes beyond their solar system. But their rate of advancement is unlike anything recorded before." Velric studied the data. Rapid technological progress, an atmosphere filled with high levels of oxygen, fuel for large warm-blooded creatures, along with evidence of massive-scale wars and an alarming resilience to environmental hazards. He didn't like it. "They're evolving too fast," he muttered. "Faster than any species in galactic history." Dravlek hesitated. "Captain, there's something else." Velric turned to him sharply. "What now?" Dravlek's voice lowered. "We intercepted some of their transmissions." He tapped a few keys, and the control room's speakers filled with strange, distorted noises. Rapid fire sounds, like explosive impacts and screaming voices. Then, after a few seconds, a deep, echoing boom rattled through the ship. The crew recoiled. Velric's heart pounded. What was that? Dravlek took a shaky breath. That was one of their wars, a recording of a single detonation. They call it a nuclear weapon. Velric felt his blood go cold. Nuclear weapons. The Galactic Council had outlawed them centuries ago. Civilizations advanced beyond such crude and destructive tools, except, apparently, this one. The analyst continued, his voice barely above a whisper. This was from one of their primitive conflicts, almost a century ago. Their current weaponry is significantly more advanced. Velric turned back to the screen, staring at the image of the blue planet. His mission was to analyze and classify planets, not make political decisions. But this was different. Send a priority report to the Council, he ordered. Let them decide what to do with this. Earth. Dravlek hesitated. Captain, if the Council realizes what this planet is, what these humans are, what do you think they'll do? Velric exhaled, his fingers tightening around the console. I don't know, he admitted, but I don't think we should have found them. The Galactic Council's chambers were vast, a circular hall with representatives from every major species in the known galaxy. The air shimmered with holographic displays, each showing real-time data on the newly discovered planet, Earth. Chancellor Orvex, an elder of the auxiliary race, stood at the center, his silver robes flowing as he addressed the assembly. His 6 glowing eyes shifted between the gathered delegates. We are gathered to discuss a most disturbing revelation, he said, his deep voice echoing. A Class 14 death world, harboring an intelligent species. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some delegates scoffed in disbelief. Others exchanged uneasy glances. No civilization had ever emerged from such a hostile world. Orvex gestured toward the massive holographic screen, where Earth rotated slowly. The crew of the Zenith has provided us with unsettling data. This species, these humans, should not exist. And yet, not only do they exist, they thrive. High Commander Zorvik of the Krillic Empire clicked his mandibles in frustration. Ridiculous. No intelligent species could evolve on a world so unstable. Surely there is an error in the scans. Dravlek, the chief analyst from the Zenith, stepped forward. I assure you, High Commander, the data is correct. He tapped a control panel, and a series of charts and video clips appeared. Humans have endured ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts. They have fought wars against themselves for thousands of years, yet each time they emerge stronger. Their biology is built for survival, unlike any species we have encountered. The room fell silent as one of the videos played. A human soldier dragging his wounded comrade through a battlefield, explosions raining down around them. Another showed a human scientist creating fire in the cold void of space, using nothing but scraps and ingenuity. Then, a final clip. A human spacecraft launching into orbit, powered by sheer determination and innovation. Ambassador Velrin of the Delcari Alliance exhaled sharply. This changes everything. Zorvik scowled. Indeed it does. If this species is as dangerous as you claim, they cannot be allowed to advance further. A cold silence followed. The meaning behind his words was clear: containment or worse. Orvex tapped his fingers on the stone podium. Are you suggesting preemptive action, Commander? Zorvik's mandibles clicked again. I am suggesting we cannot afford to wait. Their history is filled with war. Their technology progresses at an unnatural rate. If they ever achieve interstellar travel, they will not stop. They will spread. We must act before it is too late. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked horrified. Ambassador Kezrin of the Eularis raised a hand. Perhaps we are misunderstanding their nature. They have also created art, music, philosophy. Their ability to adapt could make them powerful allies, not just threats. Zorvik's eyes glowed red, or it could make them the greatest danger this galaxy has ever seen. Orvex exhaled, deep in thought. Then it is decided. We will send an observation fleet. We will watch and determine whether humanity is a species we can reason with. Dravlik's throat clicked in warning. With respect, Chancellor, if they discover they are being watched, it may not go well for us. Orvek's expression darkened. Then we must make sure they never find out. But as the Council reached its decision, across the galaxy, a human scientist stared at strange readings on his screen, unaware that his people had just become the most closely observed species in the universe. The Galactic Council's decision had been made: observe, study, and determine whether humanity was a threat. But watching a species like humans was easier said than done. The observation fleet, consisting of cloaked surveillance ships from multiple factions, was deployed across the Sol system. Advanced stealth technology kept them hidden, drifting unnoticed beyond Earth's orbit. Their mission: to study humans without being seen. Captain Vorel of the Xelari Shadow Fleet watched his screens inside the Silent Whisper, one of the stealth ships assigned to Earth. His large, luminous eyes narrowed as he studied the feed from their hidden probes. These creatures, they move so unpredictably. The screen displayed footage of humans in their daily lives. Some built towering machines, others painted breathtaking landscapes. One moment, humans were laughing and dancing. The next, they were engaged in brutal combat training. They switched between emotions faster than any species Vorel had encountered. Lieutenant Gorn, a reptilian Kryllik, scoffed. They're unpredictable because they are chaotic. No structure, no discipline, just madness. He gestured toward the screen, where a human scientist was deliberately setting fire to a test chamber. See, they destroy for the sake of destruction. Vorel shook his head. No, this is not madness. This is control. They burn things to learn. They wage war to improve. He tapped on another feed, a group of humans launching a spacecraft into orbit. They are progressing at an unnatural speed. On another screen, a human child was seen disassembling a device and reassembling it, making it function better than before. A panel of alien scientists watching the footage murmured in disbelief. "Commander," said a nervous technician, "they are not just adapting. They are learning at an exponential rate. Every challenge they face, they overcome. Every obstacle, they turn into an opportunity." A hush fell over the observation deck. This was not normal. No species was supposed to grow this quickly. Then the alarms blared. A technician's frills flared in panic. "Commander, we have a problem. One of our cloaked probes has been detected." Vorel's blood ran cold. "Impossible. Our stealth technology is generations ahead of theirs." The technician gulped. "Sir, it's not just detected. The humans are tracking it." On the main screen, a small Earth-based observatory was seen locking onto the probe's position. A human scientist scratched his chin, confused by the readings. He typed something rapidly, sending signals to other observatories. More telescopes adjusted their focus. Within minutes, they had triangulated the cloaked probe's location. Vorel's hands clenched. "Withdraw the probe. Now." The technician's fingers raced over the controls, attempting extraction. Before he could finish, an energy spike appeared on the readings. The humans had fired a signal burst directly at the probe's position, disrupting its cloaking field for a split second. That was all they needed. The human scientist's eyes widened as he saw the faint shimmer of something unnatural against the stars. He turned to his team, excitement and alarm spreading across their faces. "They know something is there," Vorel whispered. The Kryllik lieutenant growled. "They are more dangerous than we thought. If they can detect us now, what will they do in the future?" Vorel exhaled slowly. "The Council must be informed. Humanity is no ordinary species." As the Silent Whisper disengaged, retreating deeper into the void, the human scientist stared at his screen. He had seen something that shouldn't have been there. and he wasn't going to stop until he found out what it was. The Galactic Council had always believed in the superiority of its technology. For centuries, their cloaking systems had remained undetectable, their surveillance methods flawless. No species had ever discovered their presence. Until now. On Earth, Dr. Elias Carter, head astrophysicist at the Armstrong Observatory, couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. The strange signal he had detected wasn't natural. The shimmering distortion in the sky wasn't a star. It was something else. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he compiled the data. "This is no cosmic anomaly," he muttered. "This is artificial." He sent an encrypted message to top research facilities across the globe. Within hours, the world's best minds were analyzing the readings. Meanwhile, aboard the Silent Whisper, Captain Vorel watched the data stream with growing dread. "Humans are persistent," he said. "They won't stop until they uncover the truth." Lieutenant Gorn hissed. "Let them try. Their primitive technology cannot possibly." "Sir," a technician interrupted, "we have an incoming transmission. From the humans." Vorel's eyes widened. "What?" "They've sent a message, directly aimed at our coordinates." On the main screen, lines of human text appeared. "We know you are there. We know you are watching. Let's talk." Silence filled the bridge. The humans had detected them, tracked them, and now they were calling them out. Vorel's claws dug into his chair. This was unprecedented. No species had ever responded like this. Most civilizations would take centuries to discover surveillance. The humans had done it in days. "This is a mistake," Vorel muttered. "We should leave." But the Krillic lieutenant sneered. "No, Captain. We should remind them who controls this galaxy." The Silent Whisper sent back an encoded pulse, scrambling the human message. A warning. A sign to back down. It was the worst decision they could have made. On Earth, Dr. Carter frowned as his transmission was jammed. He turned to his assistant. "They saw that. They blocked it. This is confirmation. This isn't just some cosmic event. This is intelligent." He activated another system. This time, the message was broadcast through dozens of satellites. Every radio telescope on Earth would send the same message across different frequencies. Above the planet, the Silent Whisper was bombarded with thousands of signals at once. Human scientists, military, and even amateur astronomers had joined in. They weren't afraid. They were demanding answers. Vorel's stomach tightened. "They've turned our own tactics against us," Lieutenant Gorn growled. "Then we silenced them." He tapped on his console. "A minor disruption pulse will fry their primitive equipment." Vorel's eyes widened in horror. "No, if we do that." But it was too late. From the Silent Whisper, a high-frequency electromagnetic pulse shot towards Earth, targeting key observatories. Radio signals flickered. Dishes overloaded. Screens went black. For a moment, it seemed as if the aliens had successfully silenced humanity. Then the retaliation came. Within minutes, Earth's defenses activated. Satellites realigned. High-powered scanning systems locked onto the Silent Whisper. The humans had anticipated this attack. They had prepared. Vorel's technicians panicked. "Commander, they've detected us fully." There. An alert flashed. Earth had launched something. The Galactic Council had expected fear. They had expected humans to retreat. Instead, they had provoked them. And now, the real battle was about to begin. Panic spread through the bridge of the Silent Whisper. The human response had been immediate. Every scanning array on Earth had locked onto them. Their ship, undetectable for centuries, was now completely exposed. Captain Vorel's claws gripped the console. "How did they do this?" The technician's voice trembled. "Unknown, sir. Their tracking systems are primitive, but they've adapted. They shouldn't have been able to see us, but they do." Lieutenant Gorn sneered. "We should fire on them now. Teach them their place before they become a problem." Vorel hesitated. This mission had been a mistake. They had underestimated Earth. Now, every action they took only made the humans more dangerous. But before he could give an order, ALERT, Project the words flashed across the main screen. A warning siren blared. What? Voral's heart pounded. The tactical officer's scales paled. The humans, they've launched something. The crew stared at the data stream. The projectile was coming from the planet's surface, accelerating rapidly. But they don't have interstellar weapons, Gorn scoffed. Their technology is centuries behind ours. The technician's voice was barely a whisper. Then why is it locking onto us? The bridge fell silent. For the first time in galactic history, a pre-FTL species had detected and targeted a cloaked vessel. Captain Voral's mind raced. Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of their range. Now. The silent whisper veered sharply, thrusters firing at full capacity. The ship's cloaking field flickered as they tried to break free from the human tracking systems. But Earth had other plans. From the Armstrong Observatory, Dr. Elias Carter watched the data feed, his fingers tightening around his desk. It's running, he murmured. They know we see them. The projectile wasn't a missile. It wasn't a traditional weapon. It was a test, one designed to confirm a theory. The theory that Earth was not as weak as the galaxy believed. Above the planet, the silent whisper dodged, twisted, accelerated, but the tracking never wavered. Captain Voral's worst fear had come true. Earth had cracked their technology. Lieutenant Gorn slammed a fist into the console. Enough. Fire plasma disruptors. Wipe out their tracking systems. Voral hesitated. Attacking an undeveloped world was a violation of Council law. But if they didn't stop this now, humanity would become a threat. He opened his mouth to give the order. ALERT. Multiple login CHES DETCTE. The screen filled with red warnings. More projectiles. More tracking signals. Dr. Carter and his team had just escalated the situation. Earth was no longer just observing. Earth was fighting back. Voral's breath came fast. They had thought humanity was primitive, helpless. They had been wrong. Get us out of here, he roared. The silent whisper surged forward, vanishing into deep space. But the damage had been done. Humanity knew. And now, the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Delegates from hundreds of species filled the massive hall, their voices overlapping in waves of panic. The news had spread faster than light. Earth, the so-called primitive death world, had detected and tracked a cloaked reconnaissance vessel. For centuries, no pre-FTL species had ever done such a thing. No species had ever forced the cloaked ship to flee. But humanity had. High Chancellor Relk slammed his gavel, demanding order. Enough. His voice echoed across the chamber. We must assess the situation before jumping to conclusions. Ambassador Xeltrax of the Zordath stood. His species prided itself on its advanced stealth technology, the very technology humanity had just rendered useless. His mandibles clicked in agitation. This is an emergency. If a primitive world can detect us, can track us, what else are they capable of? Silence fell over the chamber. The representative from the Kiteri, an ancient and logical species, tapped his claws against the podium. Perhaps it was a fluke, a lucky accident. Humans are unpredictable, but they are still undeveloped. A deep, guttural laugh broke through the tension. It came from the Kelvar, a warlike race that had conquered dozens of systems. Their representative, Warlord Drakthar, bared his fangs. Fluke. Accident. No. He leaned forward, eyes burning. This is evolution. Humanity is not primitive. They are merely awakening. Whispers filled the chamber. Drakthar continued. We knew they were dangerous. We knew they thrived on a death world. But we thought we had time before they became a threat. His voice darkened. We were wrong. The realization sent ripples of fear through the council. For centuries, the galactic community had studied humanity from afar, believing them to be a manageable species. But now, everything had changed. The representative of the Xelvani, a species known for their intelligence networks, stood. We must consider containment. If we do not act now, we may regret it later. Murmurs of agreement spread. The High Chancellor exhaled slowly. Are you suggesting preemptive action against a pre-FTL species? The Xelvani nodded. If we allow them to continue advancing unchecked, we may not be able to stop them later. If they have already mastered tracking technology beyond their means, what will they do next? Develop weapons? Break the barriers of faster-than-light travel? The question hung in the air. Everyone in the chamber knew the answer. Humanity had done the impossible once. They would do it again. Ambassador Xeltrax clenched his fists. We cannot afford to wait. Humanity must be contained. The chamber erupted in debate. Some supported intervention. Others warned of the consequences. But one thing was certain. The council was afraid. Afraid of what humanity had just begun. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. The tension was thick, pressing down on every delegate like an invisible force. The debate had raged for hours. Some called for containment, others for diplomacy. But one undeniable truth had shaken them all. Humanity was advancing too fast, too unpredictably. High Chancellor Relk finally spoke, his voice low and firm. We cannot afford to ignore this. The humans have detected us. They have broken every expectation we had about pre-FTL species. Ambassador Xeltrax of the Zorvath stepped forward, his mandibles clicking with unease. We must act now. If we do not, we may be dealing with an unstoppable force in a matter of decades. Warlord Drakthar of the Kelver let out a deep, rumbling growl. Containment? No. We strike now. We wipe them out before they become a true threat. Gasps filled the chamber. Genocide. The Xelvani intelligence officer hissed. Do you have any idea what you're suggesting? Destroying an entire species? Drakthar's glowing eyes narrowed. Do you truly believe humanity will remain peaceful once they discover the wider galaxy? If they have already developed detection technology beyond their means, what will they create next? Will you wait until they invade? A chilling silence followed his words. The High Chancellor rubbed his temples. A direct attack would risk everything. If we fail, if we provoke them, we may create the very nightmare we are trying to avoid. The Kelvar warlord snarled. Then we must hit them hard and fast, before they even know we exist. Ambassador Xeltrax hesitated, then nodded slowly. We could make it look like an accident, a meteor strike, a planetary catastrophe. We eliminate the threat before it spreads. The chamber filled with whispers, some horrified, some intrigued. The Kiteri delegate tapped his claws against the table. You are playing with fire. Humanity has survived on a death world. They have endured worse than anything we could throw at them. Drakthar scoffed. Then we burn them completely. For a moment, it seemed the council had made its decision. The fate of Earth was about to be sealed. But then, the lights flickered. The holographic displays glitched. A deep, unfamiliar voice echoed through the chamber. We heard everything. Panic exploded. Delegates leaped from their seats. Security teams scrambled, searching for the source. The central holoprojector activated. A single image appeared. A human face. Calm. Expressionless. But the eyes, cold, calculating, knowing. A voice followed. We detected your little spy ship. We knew you were watching. And now, we are watching you. The feed cut. For the first time in galactic history, the Council felt true fear. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Every delegate shouted at once, their voices filled with fear and desperation. Security teams scrambled to track the signal, but it was useless. The humans had hijacked their most secure communication network without even being in space. High Chancellor Relk's hands trembled as he slammed his fist against the table. How? How did they break into our systems? They don't even have interstellar travel yet. No one had an answer. Warlord Drakthar, who had been so confident in attacking Earth just moments ago, now remained silent. His claws twitched against the metal surface of the table, his mind racing. If humans could do this, what else were they capable of? Then another message arrived. This time, it was not just audio. A live transmission flickered onto the central holoprojector. A human stood before them. Not a soldier, not a scientist. Just a man in a simple suit, standing in what appeared to be an office on Earth. He smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew exactly what was happening. "Hello, esteemed members of the Galactic Council," the man said calmly. His voice carried no fear, no anger, only control. "We've been listening to your little debate. Quite an interesting conversation." Silence filled the chamber. No one dared to speak. The human leaned forward slightly. "You are afraid of us." His tone remained casual. "You think we are dangerous, unpredictable, a threat to your power." He chuckled. "You're right." A few delegates flinched. The man continued. "You see, we didn't just detect your spy probe. We traced its origin. We've mapped your entire communication network. We know who you are. We know where you are." The chamber filled with gasps. Some delegates looked at their datapads, only to realize that security firewalls have vanished. Entire systems had been compromised. The human's eyes darkened. "You thought we were primitive, weak, something you could study, control, or eliminate before we became a threat." He leaned back, his smile returning. "Let me make something very clear. You don't get to decide our fate. We do." A new image appeared on the screen. A display of Earth's vast military infrastructure, not just weapons, but technology. Encryption so advanced that the Council's best AIs had failed to recognize it. Satellite networks that had instantly adjusted to counter the spy probe's signals. Unfinished spacecraft designs that looked eerily advanced for a species that hadn't left their solar system yet. The message was clear. Humanity was already prepared for war. The human's expression turned serious. "We could have remained hidden. We could have waited until we reached the stars. But you forced our hand. You threatened us." He leaned forward again, his voice a quiet warning. "Now, we are watching you." The transmission cut. For several moments, no one moved. No one spoke. Then the lights flickered again. Every screen in the chamber went dark. A final message appeared in red text. "We are coming." The Galactic Council had wanted to contain humanity. Now they could only pray they had not just made their worst mistake.